This episode of Jiu-Jitsu Café Podcast is brought to you by BJJ Connections, connecting BJJ practitioners and athletes all over the world, including lifestyle, competitions, and much more. Follow BJJ Connections on social media for their amazing content. They are in Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And this episode of Jiu-Jitsu Café Podcast is also brought to you by Cervical Kimonos. Action is everything. The famous gi brand in the UAE and Middle East. Also, they are all over Europe and shipping worldwide. Cervical Kimonos. Action is everything.
You are now tuned in to this week's episode of our podcast. Today we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. By sharing our collective expertise, we will show you how to harness, control, and use your own skill set to achieve ultimate success and live the life you want. And now, please welcome your host.
Thanks, Rafe. Hi, everyone. I'm Carlos Almeida, BJJ third degree black belt and a BJJ practitioner since 1998, with an episode in English again. Our guest today is from Kolkata, West Bengal, India. He is a blue belt for 5 years, an amazing coach and athlete with several medals in competition over his country. Also, he is the owner of the most successful fight club at the huge city, named Alpha Omega Combat Sports. A really coffee lover and has an amazing project to start for poor kids. Ladies and gentlemen, with us today, Shiba Banerjee.
Hello everyone, we are here again with the Jiu-Jitsu Café Podcast. Today I have an honor to host here my brother Shiba Banerjee from Kolkata, India. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine, coach. How are you?
I'm good. As good as we can be, right? Shiba, I usually start with these questions for my guests about his origins, about when and where he born and raised. If you can share with the people who follow us, it will be a good start.
So I was born and raised in Calcutta, like Kolkata, India, in the state of Bengal. And I started my martial arts journey here in Calcutta only with one of my brother's friend. He was a taekwondo teacher, so I learned taekwondo for some time with him. Then my focus shifted to MMA, and I really wanted to do MMA for a very long time, but there was no facility where we could train MMA in Calcutta specifically. And there was like only one gym back then training MMA, which was Tigers MMA in India. So I mailed them and they were in Pune. And I was like 14 or 15 back then. And they said, okay, you have to come down, stay with us and train, which my parents didn't allow because I was only 15 at that point of time. So then the MMA scene started to emerge in Calcutta and I thought, okay, I'll get some training, I'll compete. But most of the people, they were like just doing it for, not the right purpose. They were just telling people, okay, I teach MMA, but they didn't have any structure of training or where we will compete. There was no competition going on around in India like right now. Right now, you have so many organizations holding competitions in India and Calcutta as well. But back then, the scene was not that improved. And my first BJJ training, it started off when I was trying to learn MMA. And most of the training we did off YouTube. We used to watch videos and train till Professor Reese Dykes showed up in one of the gyms I was training back then, 360-degree sports. And like he just came down and he was like, okay, you guys train BJJ. We said, yeah, we train BJJ. And he said, so where can I change? And he just went up. We showed them that, okay, you can change here. And then when he came down, he had a brown belt on his waist and we were like, okay, he's a brown belt. So he was there for 6 months or so and he trained us for a very long time. And mostly we trained Nogi because we didn't have a gi back then. And yeah, that is the start of my BJJ training, and I instantly fell in love with BJJ and never stopped training BJJ after that.
Right, right. It's a very good beginning because most of guys started BJJ just because they are guilty, when they start to do MMA, and some skinny guys or younger guys catch them up on some submissions. But you have this mindset before that. You should practice, you should improve your BJJ, right? And before BJJ, which kind of sports you usually practice?
Before BJJ, I trained martial arts for a very long time. I trained kickboxing, I trained Muay Thai, I trained Taekwondo for some time with my brother's friend that I was talking about. And I used to do multiple sports at a time. I was playing football. I was into athletics, obviously not just in order to compete. I was doing athletics because I wanted to get into police jobs. So they had this thing where you have to run 4 kilometers in 15 minutes. So I was training for that. I was training athletics in there's a stadium in Calcutta. I was training over there. I I tried hockey. Obviously, I got introduced in that stadium. I tried hockey for some time. I played it for 2 3 months, and obviously, I was playing a lot of different sports, which helped shape me as an athlete. I mean, I have this knack for sport. I mean, I was training martial arts in the morning, playing football in the evening. I mean, early evening and late evening. At winters, I was playing badminton or table tennis. Like half of my day was spent into sports. I was a lot into sports. I was playing multiple sports, and I think that complemented my martial arts training a lot. If there's any budding athlete who is trying to get into sports, I'll say make sure you get into multiple sports. Don't just stick to one training. Train as much as possible in as many different sports as possible. It will give you a it turns you into this person. I think not just mentally, it builds you so much up physically.
Yeah, yeah, because you have a lot of different motor skills, right? And you can adapt yourself in any situations the martial
Exactly.
arts bring to you, right?
And in India, I'll mention this thing. I mean, it's a lot like Brazil. Like football is a big deal over here, and I was big into football. I was play. I when I was 16, I got a chance to play in one of the top local teams of Calcutta. It's called East Bengal Sporting Club. It's a football club. I got a chance. I played for 2 weeks, but I left because my in, main passion was martial arts. But I was good in football as well. I was playing football for a very long time, but martial arts was the thing I wanted to do. But I never stopped playing other sports. So if anybody wants to get any kind of tip out of this podcast, the first one I'll say is see the sports as a whole genre. Don't think, okay, I'm a martial artist, all I need to do is martial arts. Okay, when you do martial arts, you have to do so many things, right? You have to look into your diet, you have to look into your strength and conditioning, you have to look into your fitness, you have to look into your mobility. Those are different training, right? So when you're training differently, I think different sports compete. Even if you don't compete, participating in different sports helps to shape your body helps to shape you mentally and physically so much that initially you won't understand, but once you start competing in one sport and you have that background where you have been doing multiple sport for a very long time, you'll understand how it helps your game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I share the same opinion than you, bro. Also, because most of people who learns just one kind of sport, doesn't matter if a martial art or not. An example, this guy just training all his life and just practice volleyball. Okay,
Exactly.
his body just know how to uh, properly do the specific movements, the specific techniques of these sports. He has no other motor skills, and also his brain become lazy because it's easy to do. Of course, it's easy to do
Exactly.
what you usually do. If you don't challenge yourself, it's almost nothing, right?
I agree to that. I totally agree to that. And I'll say, if you have met somebody who have been doing multiple sport and then switch to any kind of combat sports, I have seen people like at least doing two, three sports and then switch to BJJ or MMA. I generally see if somebody comes from a background where they have been doing multiple sport, the first thing I see, they have more athleticism. Uh, their in general like game IQ is way better than other people who have been doing a single sport, and their motor skills are way higher than the other person who is training only one single sport. These three things I've seen in people who come from a background where they have been training multiple sport for a very long time.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. And about BJJ, Shiba, which kind of impact BJJ had in your life? I mean, not about physical skills like we talking about, but kind of mindset or kind of try to improve like 1% better every day. Which kind of impact BJJ had in your life?
I'll say BJJ BJJ turned into one of the things that I love the most in my life right now. But martial arts as a whole changed my life forever. Like I personally, I'll say I come from a locality where drugs and liquor was like a fashion, a trend at some point of time. I had friends who were into drugs, who were doing marijuana, who were doing other kind of drugs, liquor. I mean, for a very brief moment, I got pulled into that, but I never smoked or anything, but I started hanging out with them. But martial arts and sports in general is the only thing that got me back on track. I mean, till to this date, when I see a lot of people nowadays in BJJ, they smoke weed, they try to make it a culture. But I think when I joined sport and the time when I started doing sport, there was this responsibility you had to take because I was competing from a very small age. And because of that, I think it shaped me as a person that had this resistance towards bad things. Like I don't get compelled by all these things. And yes, to be honest, martial arts and BJJ in general, it changed my life. It became my passion. I turned it into my profession. And to be very honest, I don't have much friends. I don't have nothing to do from 7 a.m. in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. What I do is either I'm training myself or I'm training somebody else. So I won't say, I won't just say it's changed my life. I mean, it is my life.
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu is my life.
Yeah, it's same here, bro. So similar stories between us.
I mean,
Uh,
I never did a job. I never did a job in my life. I never did anything. I've been training from a very little age. I opened my own gym 5 years ago. I have been training a team. I train myself. I still to date I compete. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is my life.
yeah, yeah. Uh, Something interesting. Other people outside of BJJ or martial arts cannot understand is that how you have no friends or almost no friends, like one or two at maximum,
Exactly. A
outside
couple
of
maybe.
martial arts. It's because it's not only a profession, it's our way of life, our lifestyle
Exactly.
based on that, right?
I mean, at some point of time, we did had friends. I did had friends, but when I was training too much for competitions, they couldn't relate to it. They were like, "How can you train that? This is like you're trying to hurt somebody. Then you're always maintaining your diet. This that. You're never going out, never drinking with us, never eating with us." So this lifestyle started pushing my friends away, 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 and they knew that. I mean, obviously, for them, fun is going out, having dinner, having a couple of drinks. But for me, it's always training. So if I want to get happy, I always make sure I get my training done. If I am not training, say if I don't train for a week, I'll feel very very bad about myself. I start feeling crappy, and immediately I get into mood swings. I'm generally angry. So all these things I think impacted having friends. I mean, I'm happy when I'm in my gym, and the only friends I have right now is my students.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's kind of natural
And BJJ is
selection,
such a
right?
technical BJJ is such a technical sport. It's so hard to, I mean, define my friends what the actual deal is. I mean, if I show them, okay, see this move, you choke them out with a triangle choke or an armbar, you can do a submission like armbar. They're like, "Arey, what the hell is this?" I mean, at least with kickboxing and karate, what they can relate to is a punch and a kick. Everybody knows how to throw a punch. Maybe not a technical one, but they can relate. Okay, so what you do is you throw punches and kicks. But BJJ is a different game altogether. So to make them understand, it's way too difficult. I mean, I have a student who's a doctor. So he said, "Ke, I was back home and I was thinking about something that you in the minimum time you need to spend in order to get your black belt in BJJ is approximately 15 years." So he said, "Ke, in 12 and 4, in 16 years, it takes 16 years for somebody to become a doctor and 15 to 16 years for somebody to become a black belt." So obviously it's so difficult that in general people won't be able to wrap their head around the concept. I said, yeah, you actually, he was right. I mean, I have been a blue belt for 5 years now, and it doesn't matter. I'll be a white belt and still train every day of my life. But I was just talking to him. I was having this discussion in my gym. I was like, yeah, you are actually right. I mean, the amount of time we spend, if we had spent that time in education, we could have become doctors, engineers, this, that. So we are equivalent to that. Only because of that, we call the black belts a professor, or if somebody likes calling them coach, I don't mind. I personally like calling my coaches coach. uh, so he was actually right. The amount of time we spend for BJJ is crazy. It is given that we'll get attached to it, and once you get into the BJJ scene and you get the family vibe in the gym, it's very hard to leave.
Yeah, yeah. And in general, people don't understand that is more than our passion is our proud to be there 16, 20,
Exactly.
30 years, no matter how many years you'll be on the mats, it's a pleasure for us,
You
right?
might be injured, you might be depressed, things are not going into your life, but training is something, jiu-jitsu is something that has been constant in my life. So, and it lifts my mood up. If I train, I can think, I can focus, I can deal with my problems way better than I can deal with them when I'm not training. So I'll say, um, people won't understand the passion we have because I explain it to my students or somebody who haven't been training in a very simple way. I like, you like drinking. BJJ is like beer to me. You love drinking beer. I love doing BJJ. So BJJ is my beer. It's my drug.
Yeah, I usually said that. I usually say that.
Exactly.
Okay,
The addiction you feel
for you
towards beer, I
understand
feel
that,
that towards
just
BJJ.
realize this. BJJ is my drug. I'm addicted. Word.
Exactly. That is my addiction.
Awesome, awesome. And Shiba, you said about the importance of training, right? Now on quarantine times, how you dealing with that? How you be consistent on your training?
So I have been really lucky because my wife, you know her, she trains. So we initially, when the lockdown was upon us, we started training. Me and we started training inside the house. And after that, when the communication, like the transportation, got a green signal for go. So what we did is I used to go to the gym. Me and Dilip, we used to train one time, and I used to come back. And we were not running classes back then. I was just training myself because leverage notified us that the moment the lockdown gets lifted up, you guys are going to get 6 weeks, and we'll have our event after 6 weeks. And I am competing at minus 75, and I back then I was 86. Right now I'm 81, so I've already cut 5 kilos, and I have around say 7 more kilos to cut, give and take 7 more kilos. So what I knew is I can't stop training, even if it's a small strength and conditioning session or whatever. I have to keep on moving myself and keep myself on the go. And I was lucky with another thing is there's this bunch of guys who train off out of their terrace. They call themselves Jiu-Jitsu Ronins. They go by that name. I know the owner. I won't say the owner. I mean, at least it's his place. Debayan Sinha. So they were generous enough to call me up and they're like, if you want to train, you can come down and train with us. So mornings I was training with Dilip. Afternoon I was training with Shri, and evening I was going to their place and I was training with them. So I'll say I was training pretty plenty of times in a day, even when the lockdown was upon us. And I was in pretty good shape. I feel good about it.
Oh, I'm so jealous right now because I have no place to train BJJ right there over here. I'm trying to reach 90 kilos right now.
Exactly. If you can find a terrace or something, you can keep on training. Because I'll be very honest with you, the first 15 days of the lockdown, I didn't get much training. All I was doing was strength and conditioning session with Shri. But I was constantly losing my focus and I was losing my life. And just because I have nothing else to do, BJJ is my passion, is my profession, and it's my drug. So the thing was, I was feeling purposeless. I was feeling like, okay, I have nothing else to do in my life. What I'm going to do? I'm going to sit in here and for the rest of the day and just eat. And obviously, when you're in your house doing nothing, you tend to munch on things, which generally is not my habit. So I was feeling very purposeless. Then when the trainings started to happen, I started feeling very confident. I was training at least twice a day. I was getting a strength and conditioning session on. I was sticking to my diet. It was really easy to stick to my diet because of the lockdown. And within 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I lost 5 kilos.
That's great. That's great. And a good motivation for guys like me became lazy on these quarantine times.
Even
And
when you are lazy, you guys are like miles ahead of us.
yeah, yeah. And before this COVID outbreak come, how you see the BJJ and even MMA scenario in India, specifically in East Bengal?
In Bengal, the BJJ and MMA scene picked up really nicely. There are a few MMA promotions going on, and I'm really happy if they're paying their fighters, because it's hard for athletes, especially combat athletes who come from a lower social economic background. It's hard for them to keep up their good training, good diet if they're not getting paid after some point of time. So I'm really happy if they're getting paid, if they're getting to do what they're doing. But I'll specifically comment about the BJJ scene. The BJJ started taking over exceptionally in Bengal. A lot of people started showing interest. We have so many good talents training in our gym right now. There's this kid training with us who is 14 years old, uh, Abdur Rahman, and he's doing so good. I mean, he's training with people who are twice his size. And he recently, before the lockdown, he went for the Asian Championships. There was nobody in his weight category or age category, so he fought the 18-year-old division, and he cleared the division, won every fight by submissions, and he won 2 gold medals in that. And I was really happy with the way BJJ was growing in Calcutta, specifically in Bengal. And all over India, MMA and BJJ has picked up tremendous amount of momentum. I still believe MMA, there's a lot of politics in MMA, and there are few people who pretend to be good who are not as good. And in the name of good gyms, there are a few good gyms, there are a few bad gyms as well. But BJJ in India is rising in a very structured way. If you have a look at the BJJ scene in India, you'll see a lot of good talents who are worthy of international competition. I think they can penetrate the international scene and do really, really good. I mean, I see a lot of good MMA fighters who are doing very good nationally, but whenever they go for international competitions, they don't perform that good. But we have BJJ competitors who I think right now can win good international tournaments. I mean, maybe because of sponsorships or something, they are not being able to do that. But if given the chance, they can and they will, I believe, do very good in international competitions.
So that's a really good approach about BJJ or even MMA in India. I was lucky because I was there in 2017 and 2018, and
18.
yeah. But before I was there for a week
Yeah.
in Mumbai, and I saw lots of places just in 1 year. Uh, they contact me, they follow, and I follow them, of course, on Instagram, and I see some techniques and I see some posts very good because that's improving a lot. And India is a huge country, who,
Yeah. The population
amazing
has.
amount of people who can turn to BJJ practitioners, right?
Exactly. Like, I'll be very honest with you. If you are following uh, Warrior Cove MMA, the gym called Warrior Cove MMA, led by Ashwin Hun, and IJJ, led by Rohit Vasudevan. I mean, these guys are crazy. Cross Train Fight Club, Delhi. These guys are crazy. Their BJJ is, they are, you can call them good international level clubs as of now. I mean, the level is going up so much. They are training people who are winning national and international championships. ADCC nationals is happening in India right now. I mean, the BJJ scene is picking up so much in India. And recently, if you see with Leverage tournament, they are also bringing up Pro Jiu-Jitsu Championship, where they are where they're paying pro Jiu-Jitsu athletes. Like, for a very long time, MMA became pro, and pro MMA fighters started getting paid. But with BJJ, we never get paid for any competition. We had to pay from our pockets and compete. But right now, that scene is also changing in India, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, me too, because we have a lot of efforts to uh, go to the mats, like transportation, accommodation, food, and of course
Exactly.
the training camp should be properly, because nobody wants to go to competition and do a very poor performance, right? So we spend our amount of money as we can do, and sometimes more than we can do. And now they even start to understand that they should split the amount of money they get, right?
Exactly. So what we try to do, mostly in our gym, our competition team, they're mostly professionals. They do a job. Along with that, they keep training and competing. So we have a couple of guys who can't literally afford to pay for their own tournament. So what we do is we pull up money and we pay for them so they can go and compete. And there's this initiative that, like, I'll say lockdown is not entirely bad. It gave me so much time to think about so many things. So I was thinking of doing something like in which we can help underprivileged kids. We are going to bring them, train them, and if we can find sponsors, we can push them to competitions, which might in with which we might be able to change their lives. I mean, the life they're leading right now is not a good one. There, a lot of people are getting, I'll say specifically kids are getting into human trafficking, drugs, this, that. You see kids begging in the streets, which I feel very bad about. I mean, with jiu-jitsu or any other sport, it gives you a freedom and a power to empower other human beings, which I think we should take that opportunity and do it if possible. Obviously, not it's not possible for everyone, but I have been thinking of doing something about it. And once the lockdown opens, we'll definitely have a talk with some of the people I train. They are some of the big businessmen, and there's that. If they're interested in something like that, we can start with a, I mean, BJJ for everyone kind of a program in which we can help the underprivileged children.
Oh, that's amazing, bro. That's amazing. Also because we as coach, as professors, we have so much to give them, right? Specifically for the poor kids on this bad situation, as you said. And we can really change their life for a new vision, because of course they don't have this vision, they don't have access to this kind of information, or it's that kind of situations, right? So
Exactly. They have no idea that
I wish we can get more people like you who think about them.
I think they have no idea that there's something out there which can change their life. And the worst part is when I see them accepting that this is their life. They have to beg, they have to do drugs, they have to do this. So much human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking is happening in India right now. And it pisses me off that we have the power to change this. And for some reason, I mean, I'm not saying the reason is always bad, but for some reason we are not being able to do this. I mean, I have to make rent at the end of the month. There's a tension in my head. But this lockdown gave me so much time to sit down and figure it out, how I can do it, how I can spend at least 2 hours a day to figure out which are the kids that need help, where I can get them from. I can contact different NGOs to bring them down for a seminar. So maybe many things we can do. And I'll say most of the motivation comes from people I have trained with. I'll namely say first is Reese, my first BJJ coach, Professor Reese Dykes from Australia. He was training us for months without any payment, anything. And I saw that person that he would, I mean, he would train anybody that is willing to come down and train with him. No questions asked, no charges, nothing. So when I see people like this, when you came down in Calcutta, I mean, when we discussed that how much should we do the fees, you always say, okay, you tell me what is the right amount to charge. You never impose anything on us. And when I see this kind of example, I see, okay, so if I receive something from them and I can get myself better, I should give it back to somebody who can change their life as well.
Yeah. Also because most of times 2 hours of our time, twice a week, 3 times a week, don't become really huge impact in our things, but can become a very nice impact on their lives, right?
Exactly.
They can change 180 degrees from their lives just because there's these 2 hours we give them to from our heart, right? From the deepest of our heart.
100%. I totally agree to it. And I always say to my students and everything is that, you know, what is the magic number? The magic number is one. You win one tournament or you perform good in one tournament, you you will be waiting for the next tournament and another after that, another after that. So in everything you do, the magic number is one. The first time you taste success, you want to taste it for the second time, for the third time, for the fourth time. So even with this initiative, I was like, even if I can change a single person's life, that is going to impact 10 more lives. They're going to come down, they're going to train. Again, I might be able to train a couple of people who can go out and compete, start coaching, start earning a good life for themselves, maybe. So the magic number is one. What we have to do is we have to create a single example which we can show people, so say they can also change their lives, where if we can provide them with the right facility and the right environment, I believe.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, bro. Brother, if you give me this opportunity, of course, our conversation here is amazing. Lots of things I also learn from you. But as the people know, the podcast calling Jiu-Jitsu e Café podcast. If you don't mind, can I give you some questions about coffee?
100%. I love coffee.
Right. Which kind of coffee do you like, Shiba?
I usually drink the first cup that I drink in the morning, it has to be a milk coffee without sugar. And after that, when I drink the coffee that I drink in the gym, it has to be black coffee without sugar.
Oh, that's great. And how about the amount you took per day?
I mean, the amount was crazy a year and a half ago, a couple of years ago. I was drinking 15 to 20 cups a day. And
Oh,
yeah, I started losing sleep at some point of time. And I have chunked it down to 4 to 6 cups a day. I try not to go above 4 cups, and the maximum amount I try to take is 5 cups a day, because I have classes the entire day. Sometimes I don't get. I'll tell you my schedule. So I start my PT at 7 o'clock. 7 to 8 I have a PT. 8:30 to 9:30 I have a PT. 10 to 11 I have a PT. At 11 I go to the gym. 11 to 12 I take a class. From 12 to 2:30 we train. From say at 3 o'clock I have my lunch. Around 4 o'clock I have another class. The classes start at the gym. Till 9:30 the classes go on. So I barely get any rest. So I have to drink a lot of coffee. But obviously I'm not drinking like before. I'm drinking like 4 to 5 cups a day as of now.
Right, right. It's a good amount, by the way, right? For regular people, it's a good amount. For
Yeah,
guys
exactly.
for guys like you who works 25 hours per day is not that much.
And to be very honest, like I'm drinking 5 cups of coffee a day, but I'm also drinking an additional 4 or 5 cups of tea as well. So what I do is I drink herbal tea. I switch. I needed to drink something. Like that coffee gave me a bad habit, so I made sure, okay, I'm drinking 4 cups of coffee. Another 4 to 5 cup, I'm going to drink tea. So I drink black tea, black herbal tea that I have. My wife makes it. And it's an amazing tea with ginger and everything, all these herbs. I drink that 4 or 5 cups, and they're also very refreshing and energizing as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Uh, I usually uh, take pre-workout, right, before the training
Yeah,
session, but then I switch to black coffee, and that's become better for me. I don't know if you had tried pre-workout before, but for me personally, when I switched to black coffee, I became same energized, but I don't became like sad or like little depression after
exactly.
the pre-workout get finished.
You feel a bit more focused when you have coffee. And pre-training coffee is a must for me. So I have this glass in my gym that I need to be filled up with coffee before my training. I need that glass. If I'm not drinking that glass full of black coffee, I won't be able to train the way I train usually.
Yeah, yeah. And I have a friend. He said it's also about something psychologically, because you have that coffee. Your mind
Exactly.
is your mind is
Yeah, you have caffeine in your
able.
system and you
Yeah,
can go hard.
yeah. Your mind is able to perform 100%.
It's crazy. I mean, yeah, coffee is, I think in combat sports, coffee became a huge deal. I mean, we started drinking coffee. There was this culture that, okay, it has caffeine, so pre-training it helps. And it became a little bit of addiction kind of as well. So we were drinking so much coffee before training, post training. I was like, whenever we are sitting, and Dilip has this kettle in our gym, so he'll just boil water, put some coffee, put some water, and like, sir, have it. And I was like, we are having coffee. So many cups a day we were having. And after that, I started losing a bit of sleep. So I had to mellow it down.
Great, great. In your house, which place is your special place to get this coffee?
I think my wife makes the best coffee that I drink. And after that, we have this cafe over here. It's called Spilled Bin Cafe. I love their coffee as well. And in front of our gym, we have this cafe called Wise Out. They also have very good coffee. I mean, I love their coffee as well.
Great, great. And bro, how you can balancing, if this balance is possible, between you said your life outside the outbreak is very busy. How you manage that as a businessman, as an athlete, as a coach? How you can give them the right percentage?
I mean, it becomes very easy to handle things when your passion and your profession is the same thing. I mean, I'm my business is in the same place where I train myself, so it becomes really easy to handle things. And especially it becomes easy for me to handle because most of the business is seen by my wife. I mean, she handles most of the transactions, this, that, electricity bill, rent. I don't need to take care of this. What I need to see is I'm training people and making sure they pay the fees on time, and every bill is cleared by my wife, and she takes a lot of most of the load business wise, and I take most of the load training wise. So we have a good balance between us where we can take care of the business as well as our training inside the gym.
Great, great. Yeah, that's very difficult for me when I working before with another kind of things. It's also about gym, but not exactly on BJJ or MMA. It's hard because I have some meeting, I have some different thing to
Exactly.
do, but my mind keep on BJJ,
It's
keep
always in the
on
mat.
martial art. Yeah, yeah, it's so hard. So that's more a personal question for me.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Last 3 to 4 years, I have stopped doing strength and conditioning. I don't train weights anymore. I only do jiu-jitsu. I do a lot of movement-based training. I do a lot of strength and conditioning, strength training with bands. But I have stopped picking up weights, and there is no difference in my strength as of now. I feel rather better training with bands rather than lifting weights. So initially, people thought, okay, you don't want to pick up weights. I said, no, I don't want. It's not like I don't want to do weights, but if I have an hour, I'll rather train jiu-jitsu rather than training weights.
Yeah, it's kind of prioritize our
Obsession.
time, right?
Exactly. It becomes obsession. Like, I have an hour. Why train weights? Let's do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. In the end of the day, the weights don't make our jiu-jitsu better,
Exactly.
right? So, brother, uh, you said you training since you're a youngster, and
Mhm.
of course, martial arts. We know about the philosophy, we know about all these things, but we know also it's huge for our body, our joints, our muscles. You ever had a very difficult injury?
I I'll be very honest with you. Like, I train a lot, and there are a couple of things that I never feel is I'm never sore. I don't know why. I Even if I'm sore, it's for a day. Even if I get injured, I have a very good recovery tendency. I recover very quickly. And for the past 5 years, I have this ACL tear in my right knee, but I didn't get the surgery, and I have been competing for the last 5 years without any difficulty. So I think, okay, injuries, they happen, but if you deal with them properly, which is very important, most of the people, they suffer with their injuries because they never focus on their rehab. They're like, okay, okay, it's no big deal, let's train. If you're injured and you feel you cannot give you 100% or anything, it's very important. A couple of things I mentioned to my students is, if you're injured, let the coach and your partners know before the class. And the second thing is, if inside you feel like you shouldn't train, then you shouldn't train. You should take a break and focus on rehab workouts, which will strengthen that part, and you can come back stronger after maybe a week, 5 days, 4 days. But that rest is good rest. I think most people, uh, maybe it's ego, maybe it's ignorance, whatever it is, they're like, okay, okay, that injury, it's no big deal, let's train. Then they injure that place even more, and then it becomes chronic. They have to get some kind of a surgery, this, that. So if you're injured, take good care of that injury, focus on your rehab. And if you're rolling or if you're drilling, let your partners and your coaches know beforehand that you're injured.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think this is the key with which you can prevent your injuries getting further worse, or you can, I mean, you can use this protocol to get them out of your system, or stop getting them from much worse. I mean, like, they can get even worse if you're training with an injury and your partner doesn't know, and they suddenly grab a submission or something in that body part, and now it was. I mean, you could have healed it with a week of rest. Now you need 4 weeks to heal that body part. It's worse. Rather, you rest, you heal up, you focus on your recovery, do your recovery workouts properly, and make sure everybody knows about your injury if you're rolling and drilling.
Yeah, perfect. Uh, we have a kind of joke here in Brazil. I don't know if this makes sense in English, but I will try. An example, when you have an injury and you don't tell your partners or your coach, professor, whatever you want to say, uh, it's kind of a target, an invisible target, and the people just gonna attack or just gonna grab on this point. You know,
I mean,
it's strange, but it's real.
and it might sound a bit mean, but obviously if I see that, not in the gym, but if there is in a competition, if I see there is some kind of issue with, say, my competitor, the guy he's facing, he has his knee taped up, so I'll definitely tell him to attack that knee. I mean, obviously, you're injured and you're competing, so you're fully accepted that you can compete with with an injured knee. So it's not our fault, but we are coming after that knee.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you should win this competition. No matter, it's not your fault if your opponent goes
Exactly.
there with a broken finger or injury on his knee, on his shoulder, whatever,
And
right?
I think most of the coaches, I think it's a duty for them to educate themselves about injury. I mean, at least to recognize if the injury is severe or not. If your athlete will be able to compete, is it right for him to compete with the injury he is currently suffering? There's so many things that goes into being a coach. I mean, I constantly educate myself about injuries so I can recognize, okay, this injury, you shouldn't compete. If you compete, it's going to get worse. Then you can recover in 3 months, then it will take you 1 year to recover. Rather, you skip one competition, focus on your rehabilitation, and come back stronger. I mean, this is a very sensitive and very general thing that coaches should be able to do, but they rather focus on the macho aspect of the game, like, "Arey, it's no big deal, you go compete, rub it off, this, that." It sounds good, it looks good in movies, but in reality, it might turn into a disaster and this guy's career might end. I mean, it might turn into some kind of an injury where the doctors say, okay, you can't compete anymore, you shouldn't compete anymore. And BJJ and MMA as of now is not the best professional choice for the parents of India right now. So if they see, okay, my child is going for a tournament, they pay for their travel, their staying, their food, everything, then they come back with an injury, which the doctor says is going to be fatal for him in future. They'll ask them, okay, you don't need to do this sport anymore, you can switch sport, or make them stop going for any kind of sports altogether, which I think is a very negative thing. And coaches should educate themselves about the injury, and I mean, what kind of injury it is, and is it right for the person or the athlete to compete with that kind of injury or not. I mean,
Yeah,
that's my point of view.
yeah, I totally agree with that. And my brother Shiba, now it's the time on our podcast. I want to do a little coffee break. It's kind of 45, 50 seconds just to show our partners here, the people who follow us on social media, on YouTube and podcast platform. Just wait a little bit. We're gonna put their advertising over here, and in less
Done.
than 1 minute we will be back. Okay, bro?
Okay, done.
Okay, let's do it.
This episode of Jiu-Jitsu Café Podcast is brought to you by BJJ Connections, connecting BJJ practitioners and athletes all over the world, including lifestyle competitions and much more. Follow BJJ Connections on social media for their amazing content. They are in Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And this episode of Jiu-Jitsu Café Podcast is also brought to you by Cervical Kimonos. Action is everything. The famous gi brand in the UAE and Middle East. Also, they are all over Europe and shipping worldwide. Cervical Kimonos. Action is everything.
Hi guys, we are back. As I said, very quickly, just for our supporters, if you like them, access them and be in touch with them on social media. Here we are with Shiba Banerjee from Kolkata, India. And Shiba, now I have a game, I call that the game. If you don't mind, I want to ask you 10 back-to-back questions. Uh, if you
Done.
want to enjoy with me, okay?
Done.
So let's go. Gi, blue, black, or white?
Black.
Nice. Gi or no gi?
Gi.
Why?
I love the grips and the sweeps and all the pressure passing options that I get.
Good one. Good answer. Good answer. Nicest academy or place you ever had to be compete or train?
Uh, I think the best competition I went to is the SJJF Asians. Very good competition. And I haven't trained outside India as of now for BJJ. So when I go outside and train in any other academy, I'll let you know.
Right. Which kind of song you hear when you go to your personal training session?
Johnny Cash.
Good. Your favorite food, bro?
Biryani.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. That's awesome over there. The best quality you can find in your training partners?
I think the only thing I need from a training partner is to be focused when they're training, and the most important thing is regularity. They should maintain regularity. They shouldn't ghost on me when I'm supposed to train with them and they're like, okay, I can't make it. I get annoyed and angry with that.
Me too. Me too. Trust me. Your main goal in your BJJ life path?
To become a world champion.
Awesome. Awesome. Your favorite city?
Calcutta.
Winter or summer for training, and why?
Summer, obviously, it's so easy to cut weight.
For guys like us, is all
Yeah,
the
exactly.
time overweight, it's better. By the way, Kolkata don't have a properly winter, right?
We don't have that much of a winter, but it's pretty chilly. But the summers there was. I mean, I have lost 2.5 to 3 kilos in a single workout session. I mean, you work out for 2 hours, 1.5 to 2 hours, you lose 2 kilos easy.
Oh, it's huge. And Shiba, for the people who listen us or even watch us in YouTube, I also like to ask my guests here about books. Can you share with us some book you have read and make a huge impact in your life and you recommend to us?
I am not much of a reader coach, but I'll say do what John Danaher's leg lock DVDs. They are going to help you a lot.
Great, great. That's the best answer I can get.
Exactly. I do a lot of tape study. So obviously I'm going to recommend that. And all I do is I either tape study or I study fights. I love the channel. There's a channel in YouTube which says BJJ Scout. I mean, they break down fights. I definitely watch their videos. I mean, I enjoy doing that. I don't read books, but I do this. This is my muse.
Great, great. And we are go to the end of the podcast. But before that, I want to ask you if you want to leave a message for the guys who follow us and your students from Alpha Omega Academy.
All I want to say is you might or might not train BJJ. That's not important. BJJ is a part of your life if you train. Obviously, it's a huge part of our life. If you want to train, definitely train, but focus more on becoming a good human being. Enjoy your life. If you can, help others. If you are in need, take help from others, but definitely forward it back when the opportunity shows. So basically, you help others, you enjoy your life, you train if possible. If not, it's up to you. But be a good human being altogether.
Yeah, our world need that, right?
Yeah,
Best human beings, because
100%.
most of them, especially who's running the countries, are not that much.
Exactly. I mean, BJJ is a tool for us. Maybe you have another tool. Maybe you can, you have a company, and if you can employ 10 people and get them out of poverty, do that. If I can train 10 people and change their life, I'll do it. Everybody has a tool. Everybody can do something for others. You just need to find what you can do for others and do it. I need to find what I can do for others. I'll do it. And meanwhile, eat healthy, drink a lot of water, keep training, and be a good human being.
Perfect, perfect. And your goals for this second semester of 2020 and 2021?
If whatever news we have received from Indian government, that this 2020, I think it will mostly be a lockdown situation in India at least. And if things open up, I have only one goal: to train as much as possible, compete as much as possible, and compete internationally as much as possible.
Right. If you can, Shiba, share with us your plans with your team for 2021 as an international competitions.
I mean, I'm a very basic guy. I mean, I like planning. I want to tell that I like planning, but I don't like to plan too much where it becomes, hard for people to understand. So what I tell them is, you train gi, you train no gi, you train gi the way gi should be trained, you train no gi the way no gi should be trained, you compete. And when you compete, there's one thing that I need them to focus on is, you are one of those lucky people who are getting to do what they love doing. So enjoy that moment, compete, win, lose or draw. It doesn't really matter, because it's not the last time you're competing. You'll have many more chances, but have fun doing it and showcase your talent. Focus on showcasing your talent. I mean, even if you win and if you give a boring fight, people will not like watching your competition. So try to give an entertaining competition. Make sure your fight is entertaining, and yeah, try to enjoy the moment. I mean, this is what you have been training and waiting for. I mean, there's no fear. Do it.
Great, great. Guys, unfortunately, we are fresh up on time. Shiba, I want to say thank you again to be with us today. For sure, we have lots of more topics to discuss, but we have a time here. And
100%.
just leave your social media from you and from your academy, and I will put on the description of the video and the platform, podcast platform.
Done, coach. I mean, thank you for having me. And there's one thing I missed about my plans for 2021. Obviously, in 2021, I want to bring you down and get the camp that I was supposed to have back in Calcutta.
Thank you
If
so
the
much,
international,
brother. Thank you.
Exactly, international flights start off, and we are definitely bringing you down and having that camp.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you. And put your social media down now, please.
I didn't get the question, coach.
Your social media for people get in touch with you.
Okay, Instagram, it's Shiba_Banerjee. Facebook, same, Shiba Banerjee. If you want to look at the gym page, it's called Alpha Omega Combat Sports Kolkata. Same name for Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. So guys, all these links will be on the description on YouTube or even on podcast platform. Thanks again, Shiba. And guys, be with us, Jiu-Jitsu Cafe Podcast. See you on the next episode.
Os.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.